Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, attorney Kim Hegwood of Your Legacy Legal Care, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Good morning and welcome to Life Happens with me, Kim Hegwood, and our very special guest today is Dr. Cate McCarty. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Kim?
And so, well, I made it,
Yeah,
I got up this morning, so it's always a good day.
isn't that the truth? And I hear we're both dealing with heat, so we have a lot of commonality.
Oh, girl. Yeah.
101 in Maryland is pretty earth-shattering. So,
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah,
see, when you live on the coast as long as I have, you're used to the heat. I will tell you though,
Yes.
the older you get, the older I've gotten, it just gets warmer. The temperature is warmer, so
yes,
and it's not
true.
because we're getting older either. The earth is getting warmer. So
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. Right?
yes. Well, my great aunt said, it wasn't like this when she was younger either. So it has to be,
Well, that's
had to be
nice.
through. So, but
Yes,
today we're going to talk about some fun stuff. We're going to talk about coaching through the fog,
yes,
navigating dementia with compassion and clarity. And so we have
yes.
a lot of, we see because of my elder law practice, we have a lot of clients that are having this diagnosis, families that are, having this diagnosis, so the goal is to kind of just, we want to educate people as much as possible. So let's talk about the dementia care journey is a long game because,
It
a lot of
is.
times it can be. What inspired you to become a coach for this type of journey?
Well, to be totally transparent, when you graduate with a master's degree in thanatology and a PhD in aging studies, you have to figure out where you belong. But I do have, I couldn't believe it the other day. I was totaling it up. 50 years of experience in dementia world
Hmm.
because I started in a very rural county here in Maryland, and we knew nothing in the 70s. We didn't even have certification for nurses aides, but I was one. I'm sorry for the souls that I took care of, but you learn on your feet. So a lot of my is experience, right? But so when you look at, we aren't given the tools to deal with the diagnosis. I mean, generally you go to a neurologist, and if you're lucky, they give you, in our case, my husband's case, 20 pieces of, well, of course, this is my age, mimeographed, no, copies, 20 copies of, of things you should do. But it's like you're being sent off on a journey with no light. You don't know what to do. So it made sense. And actually, when I coined the term Dr. Kate Dementia Coach, the fellow that was the marketing advisor, there were none. And now you can be certified as dementia coach. So in 2012, it was a new term and it worked because he was very convinced I needed to say I was a doctor. And of course, we have a lot of medical things about that. But interestingly enough, that fella now has been in my support group and his wife because of vascular dementia. So the world keeps changing, and it's a lot of us that will have to deal with this. So we try to pull our resources together on good strategies, and often it's research and often it's experiential. This is what I've seen with another couple, another family. So that helps.
Yeah, I find that in my practice, it's like that a lot too. So, you
Yes.
see things, something that might help another client, you hope you can pass that along to help someone else down the road.
Right, right. The anecdotal evidence, I think, is sometimes. I always think of my dad, who had passed away by the time I got my PhD, long past. But I think he just shakes his head and says, "Yeah, they needed to study that because nobody understood it." Right? You're like, "Yes, but we've proven it now, Dad. We've proven it."
Most definitely. And
Right?
so you have an acronym. So how did your Kate strategies help families build a stronger and more resilient care team?
Well, it's interesting how life works. So I know as a caregiving, first a daughter, originally a CNA, I knew how much the spiritual influence was there. And um, I was tasked with the idea of presenting care strategies that weren't specific to dementia. So that's how Cate came about. So creating a thriving environment, because I cover 5 strategies that really work for you and I, but they're very much tailored for dementia. And that was done for a high Medicaid facility that had a lot of uh, mental health issues and a lot of indigents that were living there. So we didn't want to say it was dementia because we thought about dementia companion. But so this was given to me by a youngster who now sells jewelry and has a wonderful family. But she's like, how about we just call it Cate, creating a thriving environment? So what is novel about it is that I built it on the 5 smooth stones that is an old sermon from a pastor that was my catechism pastor in the Lutheran church when I was 13. And I never appreciated him near enough at 13.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I wanted out. I didn't want to do this. I even asked my dad, who's usually the final authority, and he's like, nope, you got to do it for your mom. So, and Pastor Kretschmer was one that you had to write every word of the sermon, and the closer you got, the better you get it grade you would get. So
Nice.
one of them was 5 smooth stones. So I was looking at the research and what I know works, and there were 5 strategies. And so that's how and you only need one. And when you look at the story of David and Goliath, where I get stuck a little because I'm like, does everybody know that story? Judeo-Christians do. I don't know about the rest of religions, but I can always tell the story quickly. It was a giant. He's a shepherd boy. This is a lot like when you're a wife or a daughter going to a neurologist. Now, when something's not quite right with dad, and then they say, well, we think it's vascular dementia, or we think he has Alzheimer's, and we want to do more tests. You definitely feel like the shepherd boy that's up against the giant, right? And he was very popular. And one of the things I found really that translated well was, they put they put the warrior armor on him, and he couldn't stand up. That's a lot like, well, this is what you're going to have to do. My first appointment with my husband, she was no bedside manner. She threw a book on the table, the 36-hour day, and she said, you better look for assisted living. He's going to need it. Now, that
Wow.
was 2016, and we're still at mild cognitive impairment. So, yeah, that didn't translate. But that's like, here's your armor, go fight that battle. So, with David, he had 5 stones in his little pouch, and it only took one. So, these 5 strategies, and it's based on the Montessori method, based on Naomi Files' validation method. So, we have simplify, personalize, use your biography. What do they like? What are their preferences? And let's see, we've got taking measure. If you read the story of David and Goliath, literally how long the giant's arms were, how big he was. It's like it's taking measure. So figuring out the stage, because that kind of drives how you're going to navigate it. I use a lot of the information on retrogenesis, which is time travel, which comes, I'm bringing this up because it comes from a Texan, right?
Nice.
Dr. Christopher J. Johnson there at you, and forgive me, all you Texans. I think it's UT. If I did it wrong, don't slay me. I know, but so they have a master's degree in dementia studies coming out of that. But the retrogenesis is the idea that although we always work with an adult when we have an Alzheimer's diagnosis or other dementias, we know that their brain is processing backwards.
Mhm.
And so I don't know anybody that needs memory care that also can work a microwave.
No.
The last thing you learned is the first thing you forget. And this is how the great grandchildren's names are lost early. So your brain is moving back in time. Our goal is to find the sweet spots and enjoy them. But as a wife, it's very difficult when you're out in public and they're acting like the 12-year-old who's never seen boobs before.
Yes.
Yes, right. So you're like, well, and you fight it. I mean, I know all this and I still fight it because when it's on your turf, It's hard to remember that you've got these 5 stones and you only need one. Right? Yes. So that gives you a little taste of the Kate strategies.
Well, there you go. And so what do you find are the most common missteps that families make when they first get that dementia diagnosis?
Um, I think, and I always think of Kubler-Ross, the death and dying, original stages. I think we tend to go into denial.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh well, it's fine. I'll just keep my blinders on. I think of the horses or the Arabers in Baltimore, and they always have the blinders on the horses so they can walk down these very complicated streets. I think that's what happens. I think particularly if it's a spouse, particularly if it's a caregiver that feels very alone and doesn't have any support. So I think the misstep is not digging in for education and seeking support. One of my favorite studies was a while back, and it was about sustaining self. Spirituality, seeking support, and education were the 3 things that rose. Whatever that is. I mean, if you need to go out and my husband said, does that mean washing in the forest? No, walking in the forest, forest bathing. If that's your thing, then that is needed. I don't know how anyone gets through this without some level of spirituality. I just don't. You've got to call on something bigger than you because it's big. I mean, this is a giant, and it's so long. I mean, David did this in like, I don't know, a short time. They didn't measure how long it took, but it was only 1 stone. But we don't have that gift. This isn't like a cancer diagnosis, for example.
No, no. I think caregiving a lot has to do with praying for strength.
Yes, yes.
And
The
that's
serenity prayer or whatever it takes. Yeah. I mean, I
yeah,
have a wonderful, actually, one of my San Antonio folks that comes to support group. He is a much better Catholic than I ever was. And so I'll say, okay, I need a novena. And like his wife has long passed away. And I just say, okay, a novena for this one in the support group. Can you do that? And then he's on it. And I'm like, this is good. I have my prayer warriors because I can't carry them all, but
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. So you've been a daughter-in-law, professional, a spouse. How have these roles, because you've been a caregiver in all these capacities, how has that changed or shaped your coaching approach?
It's given me a lot of well, a lot of different experiences. As the Now, unfortunately, because of divorce, I've had 2 father-in-laws with dementia.
Oh,
I think I have a magnet. But the first one was in the 90s, and we didn't know much. I mean, really, yeah. I mean, I had seen the mainly fetal position people in the 70s in nursing homes. Assisted living was assisted living memory care was a brand new thought process that most of us knew nothing about. And adult day was a kind of a new idea, at least in the area we were living in. So we lived with, and we saw how difficult it is as a family to caregive because mom had she was a ex-military OT, so she was drawing up the pictures and strapping down the cabinets, and I know some of the things were kind of horrendous at the time, but we did what we could. I mean, I remember giving how she would go to mass. She didn't let dad go. It was the saddest thing because he put the host in his pocket, and she didn't let go of that. And it didn't help that this, eclectic thinker said, I kind of think God would forgive him. Right? But so she'd go to mass. I would do the shower. And I remember climbing out of a window because dad was just not letting me out of the door of this tiny bathroom. And he was totally, yeah. So like I had some real, what do we call that? Street cred on this. Right? Yeah. And I do remember him wandering, and it was, you have to have humor. So 4 family members 2 cars out looking for dad, and he has taken off. And always fascinates me how strong a person with dementia can be. Like no physical, yeah. So when my brother-in-law pulled up to him and opened the door, he said, "Dad, where are you going?" And Dad said, "There's a crazy woman back at my house." And
That would be you, right?
that was actually my mother-in-law. She was like losing it. And he was trying to take apart the stove, and she gave him heck. And so we didn't know near enough. So then we got him into adult day, but it was too late, and we couldn't get him to come home, or we couldn't get him to yeah, come home was the big one, or get him on the bus. So yeah, so that gave me some strategies. And then when you look at the professional, I mean, oh, the nurse's aid experience was so rough, and I am happy that we've made lots of improvement, but we still have people in the vegetative state. We still have that, and that is sad that we still have that. But we know a lot more. I think that's probably what generated my topic for my dissertation was dementia care at end of life and maximizing that. And we've come a long way with how we approach that, which is thank heavens, right? Because not everybody is going to, yeah, some of them are going to walk lockstep to the very final stage.
Yeah, definitely. So, how does emotional wellness play in dementia care, both for the individual as well as the caregiver?
It's so vital and so hard to achieve. I think we tend to, I mean, I know in my case, there was probably a decade of, because we know we're not there yet. Let's see, 2016. There's probably 5 years where I just thought I'd outlive it and I'd catch up later. And so, like, appointments were put off. I mean, we're talking physical health, right? And things were great until they weren't. I mean, I had to cancel this because of a thyroid surgery. What it really shows me is that we're all on a razor's edge. We don't know. So, and also, as Mike often says, Mike's my husband, a happy wife is a happy life. And it is true, right? So that means that he's okay, although he calls my meditation sleep. And it may involve that sometimes. I'll be honest. He understands that I need to be left alone to do that, right? So emotional, I mean, and then on his part, um, some of us don't know our partner much without dementia.
Mm.
Like we didn't know what was happening. So on his part, trying to determine what makes him happy. And an example is we have discontinued our virtual memory cafes that had gone on for 4 years, 4.5 years. We discontinued them, but we keep them for just a friend of his and mine. So where there's a set of 2 couples that still meet every Monday morning
Hmm.
because it matters to him. And he builds the whole week around that engagement. So trying to kind of it's constantly imbalanced. Remember, we always thought when we were young, we talked about work-life balance. Well, it's care partner. That's what I like about the term partner is that it equalizes it. It's not me over you, right? And then you have so much need, I'm going to ignore it because one day I'll be able to catch up. Well, that's just dumb thinking, right? So it's an ongoing challenge, and also even with socially what you need. I tend to give it all out during the day. In the evening, I just want to not talk. And Mike finds that fascinating. And he's been quiet all day. He wants to talk.
Yeah,
So it's like, we
yeah.
need to find you a computer friend.
There you go. So, most definitely, AI is coming, girl. So you may be able to get him a little computer guide to actually to have a good conversation with him. So,
I know. I think I need a youngster that really understands because Mike was a genius in his field. So
mhm.
he says, "What's wrong with your computer?" I don't know. It's not working. That's what I know.
Yes.
And he's like, "Da, da, 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 da." But yeah, we're working on that. We have a neighbor that is somewhat helpful with that.
So if you could give one piece of advice to someone just beginning their dementia journey, what would it be?
Find a support group. There are many, so many. I mean, a fellow that's coming to our group from Massachusetts, I said, "How did you find out about us?" He said, "The social worker at the hospital in Massachusetts had a list and you were on it." He said it
Nice.
was 4 pages. I'm like, nice. So there are many. It's a little bit like the 12-step program where they say, find a meeting, and if you don't like that one, try another. It's
Hmm.
you don't lose anything because not everybody, it's not a one size fits all.
No,
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of support groups. What I found is that other families will offer advice and help because they don't want you to struggle like they had to. So they're willing to help you any way they can.
Yes.
And to me that's such a gift for people's, starting out going, I don't know what to do. And you're like, well, this is what helped me. Maybe you should try that,
Right.
because everybody's trying to get through the journey in one piece. you know
Exactly. That's the goal, right? I mean, really, the goal is to outlive this diagnosis. And I know that sounds morbid, but it is the goal. And to
Definitely.
do it, though, with joy and with some happiness and, to honor his bucket list as much as my bucket list, which is hard because his bucket list is really strange. I know. The last one was 20 days in Thailand. And I'm like, that's never hit my list.
Yeah, would
It's
be
something
my
I know. I'm like, because he's been everywhere, right? So I
Yeah,
was like, okay, well, maybe we could just try the Maldives. Right?
there you go.
Quite a bit of difference, I realize, but yeah. So
Definitely. So
navigating.
how do people find you if they want to get in part of your support groups or get information? How do they find you?
Yes. You can find me at catemccarty.com. You can email me at drkate@catemccarty.com, or you can phone at 813-384-7571. And
Perfect.
at the Cate McCarty, there's a calendar link. So it's catemccarty.com/calendar. And that's where you'll see the things that I do.
Perfect. Thanks so much for being on the show. This has been a
Thank you.
pleasure. We look forward to having you on again soon.
Great. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. Take care.
You too.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcast as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.